Congress is one step closer to sending the Respect for Marriage Act to the president's desk. Coming up, we'll have reaction from the Biden administration. Plus, it's time for a spoiler alert. The cast of the film joins me to discuss queer visibility and eradicating AIDS, what the U.S. is doing to finish off the disease. That's all coming up on Advocate Today. Welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for joining me. The FDA says it may shift its blood donation policy. Instead of blanket assessments, they may move toward individual risk-based donor screening. In a statement, the agency specifically mentioned risk-based screening for HIV. The FDA didn't offer further details, but the Wall Street Journal, citing sources familiar with the plans, reported the changes would let more men donate blood. Potential donors who have had a new male sexual partner in the past 3 months would be asked more specific questions about their sexual activity. Depending on their answers, they might be allowed to donate blood. The current policy requires men to wait 3 months after sexual contact with other men before they can donate blood. The Respect for Marriage Act would allow LGBTQ+ couples to have their marriages accepted wherever they go in the United States. Once approved in the House, the bill would then go to the president's desk. The Biden administration is calling it a historic step forward.
But I think it is important to note that we are taking, again, a historic step forward. The president is very proud of the work that Congress is doing this in a bipartisan way to deal with an issue that he has fought on for many years. And you've heard him say people should be allowed to choose who they love, and love is love.
Normalizing queer couples in film is crucial for visibility, and the new film, spoiler alert, does just that. Based on the memoir of the same name, it chronicles a couple's journey when one of them is diagnosed with terminal cancer. I spoke with stars Jim Parsons and Ben Aldrich and the memoir writer Michael Ausiello about telling this powerful true story. The film is a really beautiful story about two gay men, but also it's a universal story of love and loss. And I think that's so important that it's something that everyone can relate to. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about telling this really universal story. And I'll go to you first, Ben.
Yeah, I think that's what appealed to me when I first read it, is that I felt like I hadn't seen or read something myself where the love and the relationship element of a queer story was at the center of the film. And it wasn't about tragedy, it wasn't about shame, it wasn't about discrimination, it was about their relationship and all facets of the relationship as well, not just the kind of romantic, comedic, joyful elements that, you know, they really weather the storm together, and it's about what life and time and does to a relationship. And I think in that way it's completely relatable. Yes, them being gay is kind of integral to the story, and it's specific in that way, but I love that it is universal.
Jim, you've been in obviously so many projects from the boy. I actually interviewed you for Boys in the Band a while back, and so would you talk a little bit about this very approachable story for everyone?
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, from the moment I read Michael's book that it's based on, it seemed very akin to the type of movies I grew up watching and loving they weren't about gay couples. And to your point, I related to them still. There was a universality because it allowed, again, in many of those movies, a complicated, full world relationship to be shown to you. And it has been somewhat rare that we've been offered the chance to see the same in a same-sex couple. And certainly for me as an actor, it's the first time that I've had the chance to play in a story that again, it's hard to say that them being homosexual is secondary, but it kind of is. It's really just about two people who love each other and this journey that they go on. And that's what excited me about it and made it such a fulfilling project from start to finish.
Ben, you have the pleasure of your parents are played by Sally Field and Bill Irwin, which is just lovely. Would you comment on that a little bit? I mean, great actors.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of legendary legends, and I felt very lucky. I did feel somewhat intimidated, I think. especially by Sally, just because I guess I've grown up watching her in things, and she is the mother of America. So people tell me. And so yeah, there was this. I think both of us shared this moment of like knowing we were going to look into her eyes and act with her, and just being like, please think I'm good. Like, please think that I'm worthy of acting back at you. So the first scene we did with her was the hospital scene where Kit has an appendicitis, and it'd been 2.5 weeks before that of just Jim and I, really, this complete bubble of Kit and Mike on set. So it was a very interesting thing to have some other like energy coming into the room, but it was also
Sally
it was
Field
Sally Field.
energy. Yeah.
So it was a little butt clenchy at times. But also just amazing. Like, just it was incredible it was very exciting to be in a scene with her, for sure.
Congratulations on your memoir being made into this film. And I think it's really quite an important film because it's a story about a gay couple, gay love story, but it's also very universal about love and loss. And I think it's something that anyone can relate to and take away from. So I wonder if you would talk about that aspect of your story being told. And, I think it will resonate.
Yeah, well, when I wrote the book, one of the most rewarding pieces of feedback I would get was from straight people who said that how much they identified with my relationship with Kit, and that's a beautiful sort of I think thing to hear because it speaks to what you're saying. It's a universal story. It's a universal love story, and I think it's relatable mostly because it's a story about two imperfect people, and it's an imperfect relationship, and it doesn't shy away, the book or the movie shy away from those imperfections, and I think that's something everyone can relate to, whether you're in a relationship or not.
And I wonder would you talk a little bit about bringing your memoir to screen and what that process has been like for you as a writer and, being on the other side of things?
It's been so many things. It's been a learning experience. It's been thrilling. It's also been a process of letting go. When I wrote the book, I had complete control. That was my story, and I was the boss. In a movie, it's much more of a collaborative process, and the director, Michael Showalter, is the boss. And there's a certain amount of trust that is inherent with that. And that's a process because I feel so invested and protective of this story. Sort of letting go was challenging, and luckily I was working with incredible collaborators, incredibly smart artists like Michael Showalter, Jim Parsons, Ben Aldridge, Sally Field. So it wasn't a struggle.
Thank you to Jim, Ben, and Michael for speaking with me. Spoiler alert is in theaters now. The Biden administration has announced a new strategy to end the HIV/AIDS pandemic as a public health threat by 2030. The 5-year plan will focus on collaboration in fighting the disease and addressing equity issues. That includes the stigma and discrimination around HIV. Mandy Gaither has more on how far we've come in AIDS treatment and prevention and why there's still work left to be done.
Advances in treatments have led to fewer deaths from AIDS since the beginning of that epidemic, but this disease is still around.
For a lot of people, HIV is almost an invisible condition. But what we know is that, we still have over 30,000 new infections in the U.S. every single year.
Dr. Carlos Malvis-Tuto treats HIV and AIDS patients at Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center. He says awareness remains critical as many people are living with HIV and don't know it.
You can trace 40% of new infections to people who actually were unaware of their own diagnosis.
Malvis-Tuto says we now have tools to help prevent HIV infection in those who are at risk, and treatments are now available which allow for people who have the disease to live normal lives.
Even though we don't have a cure yet, as long as somebody is keeping up with their treatment, then they can manage it perfectly well.
However, work still needs to be done. Malvis-Tuto says we need to normalize testing and make sure all people are able to get HIV care.
If we don't ensure access, equal access for everyone with HIV, then we will not be able to end the pandemic.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Thank you for joining me on this Advocate Today. You can now visit theadvocatechannel.com for more content and coverage. The Advocate Channel is also available now wherever and however you stream. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. I'll see you next time.